In the previous theory video we completed the search for the 12 musical notes used in Western culture. However, the procedure used in this search is not able to produce the octave frequency of the initial note, as indicated by the green boxes in the table. This problem originates from the fact that since the frequency of a note is obtained by multiplying by 3/2 the frequency of the previous note and dividing by 2 if the resulting frequency exceeds the frequency of 521.48 Hz, corresponding to the octave, so that the general expression for the frequency of the nth note is given by the expression shown above the table, in which m is the number of divisions by 2. The factor in brackets can never assume an integer value, since it is a fraction in which the numerator is odd and the denominator is even. Another problem associated with the method used is that the relationship between the frequencies of consecutive notes obtained is not constant, but varies between two values, which makes it difficult to build instruments that use keys or frets to produce these notes. Below are shown, as an additional row of the table, the values assumed by this relationship between pairs of notes. In this video we will describe a solution given to these problems: the elaboration of a tempered scale. If we want the relationship between consecutive frequencies to be invariable, we must use a constant factor k different from the value of 3/2 used up to now to obtain the musical notes. Now, since the 12th application of the product by the constant k must lead to the frequency of the octave of the initial note, it must be true that the value of the required constant k is then. Note that this is an intermediate value between the two values of the ratio between the frequencies of consecutive notes for the non-tempered scale. Once the constant k has been calculated, the consecutive frequencies are obtained by repeated multiplication by this constant. Therefore, the frequency corresponding to the nth note will be the one given in the box, and the corresponding string length by. The following table shows the results obtained for the tempered scale by applying the previous expressions starting from the reference note A4, which corresponds to the frequency of 440 Hz. The frequency of the previous notes, G♯4 to C4, are obtained by successive divisions by k, and the frequencies of the following notes, A♯4 to C5, are obtained by successive multiplications by k. A row for the relationships between frequencies is not included because it assumes the constant value k. The comparison of both tables shows that the frequencies of the notes and the necessary adjustment in the lengths of the strings to obtain these frequencies have different but very similar values. The percentage difference between the frequency of each of the notes on both scales is shown in the one-row table located below the table for the tempered scale. Next, we will use the same instrument used in the search for the notes to listen to the difference between the sounds of the same note in both scales. Note that for this experiment a small modification has been made to the instrument. The upper nut, which was previously fixed in white, is now movable and yellow. The first string is used to produce the notes of the non-tempered scale, and the second string is used to produce the notes of the tempered scale. Watch the movement of the nuts and listen carefully, so you can perceive the differences. The experiment clearly shows the difference between the adjustment of the lengths of both strings to produce any of the notes, which has repercussions in the construction of stringed instruments that use frets. Perceiving the difference in the sound of a note on both strings is not easy, so they can be considered equivalent. Given its widespread use in the construction of instruments, the rest of these videos will work with the tempered scale. Thank you for watching this video. We have spent considerable time on 3 videos dedicated to the search for musical notes, but now you have a clear notion of how the 12 notes used in Western culture are obtained, and the compromises adopted in this search.